All right, you know the routine. Subscribe to the channel to get access to all the videos. Give me some likes, give me some comments. Love to see what you got to say. So in this module, we're going to talk about step number 3, the marketing survey, also called the needs assessment. Those are interchangeable. Most people call it the marketing survey. Needs assessment is the same thing. So we come out, and this is called the survey, the S off of forms. So forms was family, occupation, recreation, motivation, and survey. So as you finish up the warm-up, we transition into the marketing survey. So when you get ready to start the marketing survey, you'll have a form. These do change a little bit by product division. Windows has their own, and then bathrooms and kitchens has their own. Roofing will probably have their own. So they do change a little bit, but they have a common theme to them. The marketing survey is designed to provide information for you to better understand what they're trying to accomplish, and it tells you how to close them. It gives you detailed information on how to close this person. So we'll dig into the form in just a minute. Now, as you come out of the warm-up, you're sitting somewhere, maybe the kitchen table or in the den, and you're reaching down in your briefcase and you're pulling this survey out, this marketing survey or this needs assessment, and you are now going to give the homeowner an agenda. This is another word track that needs to be learned. As I said, it might vary slightly from one division product to another. It's not that you're saying the agenda word for word. It's that you have an agenda that you say word for word. The agenda is nothing more that in order what's going to come next. You're literally telling them in order the next several steps you're going to do. You've been in the home for 30 to 40 minutes and you're letting them know things are getting ready to happen. We're on our way. So if they've started getting a little antsy or wondering what's happening, you're letting them know, here we go. So here's the agenda that I use. So John and Mary, I'm going to ask you a few questions just to have a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. Then we'll go take a quick inspection and take a look at your kitchen, bathroom, windows. At that point, I'll tell you a little bit about the company. I'm going to tell you a lot about the product. We'll design your exact project. And if you like everything I show you, I'm going to work up an exact quote for you that's good for a year. This is a number that's good for a year no matter what happens to marketing or to material costs or to labor costs in the market, that you'll be protected. You know you get this project taken care of. And then at that point, I'm going to qualify you for as many programs as I can to save you some money. We think this is just a better way to do business. What do you think? So let me say it again. John and Mary, I'm going to ask you a few questions now just to have a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. Then we'll go take a quick look at your project, actually do an inspection. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company so you know who you're talking to. We'll take quite a bit of time to talk about the product, answer any questions you have about the product, design the project. And if you like everything I've shown you, I'm going to work up an exact quote that's good for a year. No matter what happens with labor costs or material costs in the market, you'll know exactly what you're dealing with. And then I'm going to qualify you for as many programs as I can to save you money. We think that's just a better way to do business. Don't you think? One more time. John and Mary, I'm going to ask you a few questions just to have a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. Then we'll go do a quick inspection on your project. At that point, I'll tell you a little bit about the company. I'll tell you a lot about the product. We'll design everything. If you like what we've put together, I'll give you an exact quote that's good for a year, protecting you against any increases in labor and material costs in the market. And then at that point, I'm going to qualify you for as many programs as I can to save you money. We think that's just a better way to do business. Don't you? Hopefully you're starting to realize, listening to me do these word tracks, how consistent I am in the home from one demonstration to the next. How little variety there is. And because I've so internalized these word tracks, they don't sound robotic. They sound conversational because I can work on my delivery and my tone and how I present them because I'm not focused on what the next word coming out of my mouth or what the next sentence is. I've got that internalized. So since that's on autopilot, I can really focus on the delivery and how I'm presenting it to the homeowner. It makes a huge difference. Now we get into the questions. So my marketing survey, I've already put their name and number on top. I did that when I was one block back from the house before I pulled up. I pulled the sheet out, put it on my clipboard, put their name and their address, slid my clipboard into my briefcase. So when I'm ready to do this, I just pull my clipboard out and it's already ready to go. Now, these questions on this sheet of paper are designed to be launching pads, launching points for little mini conversations. If I literally put every question on this sheet that I wanted you to ask, this darn thing would probably be 4 or 5 pages long and it would scare you and scare the homeowner. But this is not just reading the questions. So how did you hear about us? Was your initial contact with our company a pleasant one? How did you hear about our sale? That's not what a survey is. This is what a survey is. So how'd you hear about us? Most people are going to say they heard about us on the internet. That's about 70% of our lead sources. But they might say newspaper. They might say they got something in the mail. If they say internet, I'm going to look at them and go, did you get a chance to look at our website? Wouldn't you like to know if the person in front of you actually took an extra 15 or 20 minutes to look over the company website in addition to just seeing the ad? That would tell you something about their interest level, wouldn't it? If they saw us in the newspaper, I'm going to ask them this question. What made you respond to our ad? In other words, ours is not the only ad for windows or showers or kitchens that they've seen. Why did they respond to ours? Maybe they look at you and go, we picked 3 and you were one of them. Now I know they're getting 3 bids, don't I? Maybe they looked at it and said, I really like the offer you made. Now I know that the offer is important to them, whether it's a free product or money off installation or what have you. But wouldn't you like to know why, of all the ads they saw for the same thing from different companies, they called us? Find out what the answer is to that. Was your initial contact with our company a pleasant one? Yeah, it sure was. Isn't that nice? It's nice when people actually take their job seriously. Let me ask you, have you ever had an experience with a company where it wasn't pleasant? I am always looking, because the remodeling industry has so many issues, the industry has so many issues with complaints and customer dissatisfaction, I'm always looking to find their bad experiences, their stories of either themselves or a neighbor or a relative or a coworker who had a bad experience with a contractor. I'm looking for those because they provide me ammunition not only for my company's story, but to differentiate, to set ourselves apart from the company that created that bad experience. What was the bad experience? How did it happen? And then I can prove to them how that could never happen with us. How did you hear about our sale? If it's a direct mail piece, they might have a printed form. I didn't know about your sale. If they responded on the internet, as soon as they made the appointment, marketing emailed them the latest promotion, whatever the promotion is for the month. Guess what most people do with emails when they come from a company they don't recognize? They trash can it. So they got the email, but they might not be aware of it. I want to bring up the sale now, bring up whatever the incentive is, 60% off installation or $1,000 off the initial visit or whatever it is. I want to bring that up so that when I get into the close and I talk about the 1-year number and then provide them an incentive off of that number to buy today, they can't look at me and go, you tried to sell me at a higher number. John, no, I didn't. Remember, I talked about the fact that I was going to qualify you for incentives back when I first got started. Remember, I told you I'd show you the 1-year quote and then qualify you for all the oh, yeah, you did tell me that. See, that allows you to save credibility and yet present a 1-year number, talk about it, and then make it an incentive, a discount to motivate them to buy. So get it out. How'd you hear about our sale? I'm looking for somebody that didn't hear about the sale so I can talk about it, get the piece of paper on the table, so it saves my credibility later on in the close. How long have you owned your home? We've owned it for 20 years. Where'd you move from? What made you move here? 2 biggest reasons people move to a new neighborhood. For the job or a person. I'm telling you the answer. The answer is a job or a person. Ask the question anyway. What a great little sidebar of warm-up of where they moved from, why they moved there, who this person was, or what the job was that they moved for. What a great little digging deep and warm-up to have. If they haven't owned their home very long, they probably don't know a whole lot about what might have gone wrong with the home. If they've been there since it was built or 20 years, they know every time they've had to call a service person in. Also something for you to be aware of. Do you have any plans of moving or selling? At this point, I often talk about, hey folks, do you have any plans of moving or selling? Well, we're not sure. Well, I talked to one of 3 different kinds of customers doing this job. Let me share with you who I talked to. First customer I talked to is one that is absolutely interested in resale value. They're going to sell their home in the next year or two, and they want maximum dollar, and that's absolutely the number one focus. The second kind of customer I talked to, they're going to be there till the day they're done. They're going out feet first. This is the house they plan to be in until their time is done. And so they're looking for a dream project that satisfies what they're looking for, that's going to make them happy. And they're not that concerned about resale value because that's not their thing. And then my third customer, and the most common, to be honest with you, is going to be there for another 6, 8, 10 years. Definitely is motivated by getting more money for the home when they sell it. But they also want a project that suits them, that fits what they're looking for, because they want to enjoy it every day between now and when the day they sell. So they really want to accomplish both of those things. Which type of customer are you? Now, most people are going to tell you they're number 3, and that's perfect. We can address both sides of that equation, a great dream product and something that adds value to your home. But if they say I'm number 1 and resale value is the most important thing to me, that'll structure how I demo this product, and it'll structure the conversation I have. And if they tell me, nope, we're going to be here till the day our time on this earth is done, we're not going anywhere, we're going out the door feet first, as they say, that'll structure how I talk to them. Let's do something really beautiful, something that's your dream project. So it allows you to structure the conversation by them answering to you what type of person they are. How long have you been seriously considering getting this work completed? This is a great question. I love this question. Let me say it again. How long have you been considering getting this work completed? Now, if the person, and the most common answer is, we've been thinking about doing it for years, since we moved in, for at least 10 years, for years. If that person says that, then I'm going to ask them this question. What's kept you from doing it? And what's the number one answer? If they tell you we've been thinking about doing this for years, and I say, what's kept you from doing it? What's their number one answer? Money. Exactly. That's okay. I want them to say it. I get that, John and Mary. Sure. You know what our best feature is? Affordability. You're going to be really happy you're talking to us. Our best feature is affordability. I might use that line several times because later on in the demonstration, I can even go, what's our best feature, John and Mary? And they'll answer me affordability. Got a real good simpatico conversation going on with them then, meaning we're grooving and fitting together. But here's the other beautiful thing about this question. How long have you been considering doing this project? And they tell me just for the last couple of weeks or just for the last couple of months. With that person, the question is, what's changed? See, the person that's been thinking about doing it for years, what's kept them from doing it is money. But the person that's only been thinking about doing it for a few weeks or a few months, something's changed. Did they come into money? Or have they noticed a problem that now needs to be resolved? Something has changed to now bring this to the forefront and what they're going to do. You want to know what's changed. It matters to you. In the past 5 years, what are some of the projects you have completed? Now, I don't care what they are. It can be anything from putting carpet down to having a roof done to landscaping to a pool in the backyard, big or small. This is another attempt for me to look for a bad story, a bad experience. So they'll name 2 or 3 things they've done, and I'll say, how did they go? And even if they say they went great, we love the companies, that's great. I don't hear that very often. Have you ever had a bad experience with a contractor or a remodeler? I'm looking for those horror stories because they're so valuable to me moving on. This whole process of this 12-step selling system is the art of seeding and layering. We're layering and planting seeds now for things we can do later. I layer and plant the seed now of whatever bad experience they have with the contractor, and I can use that later in the demo where it bears fruit. We seed and layer throughout this things that'll bear fruit for us later on. What are your top 3 dream projects in the next 5 years? There's an objection you get, and it's so common. meaning you'll hear it once or twice a week if you don't ask this question, where you'll get into the close and the person looks at you and goes, well, thank you for coming out. We needed to get the numbers, but we got a couple of other things. We're thinking about doing a roof. We know we need to do a roof. We talked about getting a pool for the kids. We can't do all those projects. We're just getting the numbers together to figure out what we're going to do and what's our priority. And if you find that out in the close, there's not a whole lot you can do. Anything you say now just sounds like you're a self-serving salesperson wanting to get that money. But if I ask this question in the survey, what are your other top projects in the next 5 years? And they go, well, we need to do a roof. We're thinking about doing the bathroom or the kitchen, and we're thinking about doing a pool for the kids. Great. What's your priority? Most people are going to say, well, you are. That's why we called you out. And the fact that they hear their own words say they're the priority, they never even think of that objection in the close now. You've literally shut the door on that objection and it will not come up because they said it. It's gospel if they say it. And if they do tell you, well, we don't know, we can't do them all and we're trying to figure it out, you'll be in a much better position to deal with that now with a couple of hours to go to structure the sale and have more conversation and not sound self-serving than if you get into the close. It's a very important question. You planning on doing this season or next season? At this point, now that you're starting to drift out of suspect and starting to move into the prospect phase because you're starting to make a connection, you'll find that people have told you we're not doing this anytime soon will start telling you things like, well, we're just looking to find the right contractor, or as soon as we can get everything figured out, we'd like to get it done. And so when somebody's told you the other thing first, and then that conversation starts to shift here, you're making great progress. Keep it up. That's just a good question to see where they're at. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how important is the reliability of the company to you? Oh, 10. What's the most important thing about reliability? What does reliability mean to you? Does it mean being on time? Does it mean finishing the job on time? Does it mean pricing? What does reliability mean? Don't place your definition of the word reliability on them. We call that using your prejudices the wrong way. And I'm not using prejudice in the normal way that we do in society. I'm talking about don't lay your belief system or how you look at something onto them. Understand them. Understand what their belief system is. Understand what their definition is, and don't use yours. Because you can't do it if it's yours. That's not solving anything. You need to know what theirs is. So when somebody like that question, how important is the reliability of the company? What does reliability mean to you? What makes a company reliable to you? Find out what their definition of a reliable company is. How important is the quality of the product to you? When you say you like the quality of the product, what about the product? What about quality? Dig in there. How important is the return on investment, the pride and ownership? So I don't always ask this last one because if I asked them which of the 3 type of customers they are, either the one that's only worried about resale value, the one that's never worried about resale value because they're never moving, or third, a combination of both because they'll be there a few years, they really want to enjoy it, but they also want to consider resale value, the most common customer I talk to. If I've already asked that question, I probably don't need to dig in on this. I already know the answer to it. What are the 3 things you hate the most about your kitchen or your bathroom or your windows? Find out what they are. In the case of kitchens, it's almost always the color. The kitchens are too light or too dark from what they want. In the case of bathrooms, the answer is almost always, we want to get rid of the tub. They're worried about slip and falls. Our average demographic in this business is early 50s to late 70s. You'll see everybody, but most of the people you see are early 50s to late 70s. Case of bathrooms, it's slip and falls, folks. It's knees and hips that hurt. They want to get rid of the tub. In the case of kitchens, it's probably a 20 or 30-year-old kitchen. It's either too dark or too light for what the common trends are today. You'll get many answers, but those are the most common. Windows, maintenance, wood rot, or energy savings. Maintenance, wood rot, or energy savings. And then ask them what the 3 things are they want the most. You want to find out what is their dream. What is it they've pictured or seen that they're trying to do here? You need to know that. When you decide to make an investment in this project, what monthly investment would fit your current budget? And then you're going to ask them 300 and up, 200 to 250, or 250 to 3. The reason you ask this question is a couple of reasons. First of all, Most remodeling companies in this country do not offer financing. Most do not offer financing. So in most homeowners' experience in the past, they had to go get the money, like a loan from the bank, a home equity line, something like take it out of savings, and it's a cash transaction with the remodeling company. So asking this question lets them know we have financing available. Second reason for this question is you'll have people like, oh, I don't know how we can do this. I bet this is a lot of money. I'm sure we won't be able to do it. And they're thinking about the overall number. You're taking the pressure off by letting them know they can deal with it on a monthly basis. And the third reason for asking this question is you're going to be shocked how many people tell you exactly what they can handle. What great information to know for when you go into the close. And my other very favorite question off of this is the last one. What, if any, concerns do you have about doing this project? Let me say it again. What, if any, concerns do you have about doing this project? Now, you know what the number one answer is? Money. And when they say money, I want you to chuckle. This is the follow-up and go, no, I get it. Of course, money. Other than money, what's your biggest concern about doing the project? See, if the person answers that question, what concerns do you have about doing this project? And they say money, you're learning something. You're learning that money's one of their biggest concerns, affordability and all that. And then you can learn something else by chuckling, going, no, I get that. Other than the money, what's your biggest concern? And then there might be having the job finish on time, who's going to be on my property, how soon can you start, whatever. You'll learn another piece of information. But if the person, when you say, what concerns do you have about starting this project, and they don't say money first, they give you that other concern, now you're learning that this person, while money might matter, money's not the most important thing to them. Very nice to know which of those two people you're in front of. And then once you're done with the marketing survey, I want you to take and sign it underneath where their signature goes, date it, and then take your pen and you're going to use a bad word, and that bad word's signature. Because normally in this business, we ask people to okay things or to authorize something. We don't say the word signature. But in this case, you're going to lay the pen down and go, I need your signature right here, John. You're not going to say another word. And John's going to do one of three things. Third thing is he looks at you and goes, I'm not signing anything. The first thing he might do is pick up the pen and not say a word to you and gladly sign it. And the second thing is he looks at it and goes, what is it? And you go, these are just the answers to your questions. I turn them into marketing so they can do a better job. And he goes, okay, and signs it. Now, the power of asking somebody to sign the sheet, and I don't do it every single time. If I know my warm-up's really good, I'm clicking with them, I don't need this tool. But this tool is designed because if you've got a masterful presentation and you're doing the same demo every time, you're able to analyze things at a different level. You're able to ask yourself questions while your demo's on autopilot. And you're going, how's my warm-up? How am I bonding with these people? And if I'm not sure, by asking him to sign, if he's number 3 and says, I'm not signing anything, my warm-up sucks. And I'm better off knowing now because I got some time to work on it. And if it's number 1 and he picks the pen up and gladly signs it, my warm-up's great. I'm right where I want to be. And if he's the middle person and says, what is it? And I go, it's just your answers to these questions. I give him the marketing so they can do a better job. He's fine. The warm-up's good, but he's a little more analytical, a little more conservative. I'm probably going to use a little more detail in explaining things to him, especially in the close, because he just wants all the boxes checked, so to speak. But it's a real good way to see how your warm-up is. One last thing about bonding with people before we end this module. You're going to have, when you have a couple, 2 people in front of you, there's always going to be one that bonds to you a little bit better. One's a little more of a chatty person, a little more involved. Probably the person the most interested in the project. That's almost always the case. You want to take about 60% of your attention and focus it on the other person. It's easier to talk to the person that's talking to you, but guess what? If you don't pull that other person in a little bit, it's going to hurt you at the end. You'll probably never get the more reserved person to be as close as the chatty one. And I certainly don't want to put all my attention on the reserved person. I don't want to ignore chatty. That'll piss them off. And I don't want to put everything on chatty because then this person will never warm up to me at all. I'm just going to shift. I'm going to go instead of 50-50, 60-40, 60 to the more reserved person. I might never get them as warm, but I'm going to put a little more effort on them because they need it. I need that work over the next couple of hours so I'm in a better position with the close. All right. And that ends the marketing survey or needs assessment module.